Hi, I'm Liz Seeley, founder of Starry-Eyed Strategy, and I help you turn creativity into your greatest competitive advantage. After decades partnering with the world's best, biggest, and most beloved brands, I want to take you behind the scenes to see how the most creative leaders turn ideas into impact. Each episode features leaders from top CEOs and CMOs to founders and authors, revealing how they stay inspired to create brands that launch and last, and how you can do it too. You'll walk away with practical lessons and tools you can use, whether you're repositioning your brand, rallying your team, or planning your next big launch. So let's get started and stay starry-eyed. My guest today is Paul Damico, Chief Executive Officer of Ascent Hospitality Management, parent company to Huddle House and the famous Perkins American Food Company. Paul brings more than 4 decades of experience leading brands big and small. He's held CEO roles at Fuzzy's Taco Shop, Global Franchise Group, NAF NAF Grill, led multiple brands, including Moe's Southwest Grill, Cinnabon, Auntie Anne's, so many more. One of the many things those who know and love Paul love most about him is his belief in strong brands that are built by supporting the people who run them day to day. Well, Paul, I know you're grounded in presence, accountability, making sure the brands work well for everybody involved, and I'm excited to welcome you to Stay Starry-Eyed.
Thank you for having me.
Paul, before we get into all the things that I would like to know, what do you hope the brand leader listening will take away from our conversation today? What's one thing you hope they try or think differently about?
I hope there's a couple of nuggets that we talk about, but when I'm asked that question, I often say there's not really one thing, and I would just say that I hope in your business you're striving for success, and that doesn't come easily. So I think practicing patience is critical, and it'll come.
Very well said. I know. I feel like there's maybe it's our online world and this digital realm that we live in, but people expect things to be really fast and easy. And that's not always the way.
That's true.
There's got to be some risk involved too. There's got to be some grit. Where is it?
I think most people in our space take risks every day with their business. It is whether it's the food, the guest, the landlord, the lender. There's risks we face every single day, and I think everybody deals with that.
You're right. And do you feel like you get better at that, or maybe a little bit more comfortable with it the more you do it?
I think you definitely get more comfortable with it the more you do it. Yeah. And I think the people you surround yourself with help you get more comfortable doing that, because you can't be an expert in everything, but you can be an expert in building teams with the right talent.
Yeah, really nicely said.
Yeah.
Surrounding yourself by the people, I like to say the people who are better and smarter than me. That's my goal.
Me too.
Well, Paul, you've spent 4 decades in the hospitality industry. That's pretty wild to think about. Tell us a little bit about how you started and what you learned from those early experiences.
Like most people in my field, we start in the dish room, and that was no different for me. My dad ran a catering establishment out on Long Island in New York, and I worked every weekend from 8th grade on through 12th grade. I catered 3 weddings every weekend for 6 years. And so dish room, graduate to prep, move out to the dining room, become a server, graduate to the bar back, coat room clerk. I spent my entire high school career serving people, and that's where I learned to be a servant leader. And I still practice that today. And that was 45 years ago.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And were you excited to do that when your dad said, this is the family business, obviously? Were you excited to jump in?
My dad thought that I had a passion for the restaurant industry. I didn't know that I knew that then. But obviously he was right. Here I am, at the back end of my career.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty exciting. Did you have your kids go through the same exercises? Did you have them jump in at 8th grade?
Not my kids didn't want to. My 3 daughters wanted nothing to do with the restaurant industry. The one went into education and 2 went into marketing. They could care less about a dish room.
That's funny. My dad was a doctor, and he told us, yes, not to do anything that involves touching other people, because then you have to show up to get paid, which he did not appreciate in the end.
That's awesome.
Well, what else did those early experiences, but like you said, you're learning to be a servant to others. Where did you go from there? Where did you go when you made it to the tippy top of the catering biz? What happened next?
I mean, I went to culinary school. That's where it started. I don't even think I was part of that decision. My dad said, "Look, we're going to go up and visit Johnson and Wales. This is 1982. We're going to go visit Johnson and Wales. It's a culinary school in Providence, Rhode Island." And we did. And I applied and I got accepted and I went there and it was fantastic. I left there after 4 years with a culinary degree and a business degree. And then 27 years later, I left there with an honorary doctorate. And so I've stayed really connected to the university.
That's amazing. I did not know that you went to culinary school. And what do you
You
mean
don't
by
you don't know everything about me.
I thought that I knew. How? What do you mean by he just took you there? It was just sort of the progression
It
of
was it
your
was
path.
it was the day to go visit the university for incoming freshmen the following year, and we drove up and we visited the school and saw the classrooms and I applied. Today, I mean, with my three daughters, I think I had to apply to 30 schools for each of them. That's not the way it was back in my day.
Yeah, I'm not excited about that for my littles, but you'll have to tell me when the time comes how to do that. And from there, did you ever? I mean, did you imagine, was this just part of the progression that you would have your culinary degree, and then what'd you do with that? What were your first jobs out of school?
Well, while I was in school, I played in a lot of different restaurants throughout New England. Did internships, externships, and I think I learned pretty quickly I did not want to be in the kitchen for my career. I did not want to be in whites. I did not want to sweat every day. I love the kitchen and I love the food, and I'm glad I got the degree because I'm very comfortable in that environment. But I wanted to be out in front, and so I was recruited by Marriott and joined them, accepted a role with them in my senior year, and started with them right out of school.
And what was that job?
That was an assistant manager of snack bars at JFK Airport. About
Ooh.
the most unglamorous role you can ever have. And
I love
that's
the airport and I love snacks. What's not to like about that?
this is back in the 80s. This is not like restaurants today. This is hot dogs and ham sandwiches. That was the extent of it. But I spent 14 years with Marriott and HMS Host and Host Marriott and really got a fantastic postgraduate education in the real world, working for that company, and was able to. I traveled the world with Marriott, opening up and working on proposals in Kuala Lumpur and Australia and New Zealand and China. And after 14 years, I was kind of tired of the wingtips and the blue blazers and the red ties. And so I think I was bit by the entrepreneurial bug, and I gave it all up, moved to California, and started a restaurant company with some friends. And my wife and three young daughters at that time thought I had lost my mind.
That's hilarious. Wait, I want to pause and say I was going to ask you where you met your beautiful wife along the way. If you were traveling the world with Marriott and rising through the ranks, how did you find each other?
We found each other as sophomores at Johnson and Wales. She went there.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
she was a marketing major, and she moved into the dorm, and I was her resident assistant, and that's how we met back in the
Oh,
1983. Yeah,
no way.
yeah.
Okay. And then fast forward, you are moving to Cali with your young family. What was the restaurant group that you started?
We started a company called Food Brand LLC, and what we did is we master leased food courts in malls across the country, and it we became franchisees of 25 national brands. You would know every one of them: Subway, Sbarro, Burger King, Chili's, the and the like. And we did that for 5, 6 years. We grew that company to 100 restaurants, and then ended up selling it back to Host Marriott.
No way. Oh, how
Yeah,
funny. Full
yeah, it was
circle.
great. It was a great time.
And how did you make that leap from, I know you said you got your dual degrees, culinary business. How did you bring those two together, especially running your own?
I really focused on the business degree, but the culinary degree allowed me to play in the restaurant space and allowed me to spend time with the executive chefs, the culinarians, the R&D teams, and really know what was going on, right? Nobody could bullshit me. I knew what their role was.
Yeah, you know enough to be dangerous and to speak the language and to know what's happening back there.
But I can cook like a machine as well. I really enjoy the kitchen.
That's amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you sold that back. Then where'd you go?
I was recruited. I was recruited to be the chief operating officer for a company called Creative Host Services. It was an airport concessions company that was, as soon as I joined, it was immediately sold to SSP out of the UK. And I ran North America and the Caribbean for them for 3 years. And I had moved back east. And so that's when I consider my big break came, and I was recruited then to move to Atlanta and become the president of Moe's Southwest Grill. And that was my first role in really the most senior position in the company. And stepped into that role down in Georgia. And at the time there were, I think, about 160 restaurants. And I spent the next 7 years growing that to over 700 restaurants. And it was an amazing time. It was the time where I met John Gordon and Paul Macaluso and the like. Um, and they were all junior players back then. And today they're CMOs, CEOs, CDOs, CDRs. It's fantastic to watch, 30 years later.
That's
Ultimate,
amazing.
ulti- ultimately, ultimately, I stepped out of Moe's and became the president of Focus Brands. And at that time, there were the six brands: McAllister, Schlotsky's, Moe's, Cinnabon, Auntie Anne's, and Carvel. So we had about 5,000 restaurants around the globe, and did that for 3 years. And then was asked to go to Chicago and lead NAF NAF, which was at the time Rourke's first incubated brand, a startup, a founder driven brand, and did that. Moved to Chicago. I'm an empty nester at this point. My wife and I loved the city, and we went there and we grew that brand. And that's when COVID hit. We're now in March of 20, and I decide to move back to Atlanta. We're recruited to be the CEO of Global Franchise Group, another multi-brand, Great American Cookie, Round Table Pizza, Hot Dog on a Stick, Marble Slab Creamery. Did that for just 2 years, and sold that company to Fat Brands. And then stepped out, took some time off, and then got recruited to move to Dallas and run Fuzzy's Taco Shop. Did that for 3 years, sold that to Dine Brands Global, parent of Applebee's and IHOP. And then I retired. I retired for a year and a half until my friend Alice Elliott called me and said, I have an opportunity in Atlanta that you're going to love. And here I am today, 140 days into it. And that's my 42-year career.
Spectacular.
It's unreal.
Spectacular.
It's
I want to
unreal.
know, did you have a retirement party and you're like, I'm done with this?
I never got to the party because I kind of just melted into relaxation and golf and tennis and spending time with the family. And my wife never believed that I was retired anyway. She said, you're going to get back into it. And she was right, of course.
That's what I wondered. Did she see
Yeah.
this coming? She's like, how long is this relaxing going to last?
Yeah. So here I am today running two legacy brands. Um, and it's been an amazing 140 days. I've been able to, influence some team members to join me from my past. I've rounded out the team here, and we're going to grow these brands. It's really amazing. The legacy, and people say old, and I don't say that they're old brands. They are durable brands. These are the brands, if you think back to 2000, 25 years ago, 60% of the brands that came about are no longer here. And here I have two that have lasted over 60 years each, specializing in the breakfast category. So I feel like I'm very fortunate to be able to run these brands, and I think we can do something with them.
I agree. Well, I know that as you look across all the many brands you've led before, I'm sure there are some commonalities. And our paths crossed when our team did the Cinnabon rebrand, then proceeded to
Yep.
renovate the rest of that whole portfolio you mentioned. Same thing we did Round Table, Great American Cookies, Marble Slab. What have you seen from a brand standpoint, again, more focused on these long-lasting legacy brands, when you either refresh or just stay in touch, what have some of those most successful brands had in common?
Well, number one, it's the food, right? And the food has to be excellent, right? And it has to be consistent, and it has to be approachable, and that's what both of these brands have. I mean, there are things that we consider to be sacred cows, right? In these brands, we're not touching the Perkins pancake recipe. We're not doing that because it's amazing, and we're not touching Huddle House's waffle recipe, right? But there are ways to innovate around them, to drive new trial and new guests into the restaurants. Huddle House was founded in very rural parts of Georgia and Alabama, where not many brands go. And Perkins is a 5,000 square foot box that nobody would build today, but there's almost 300 of them, throughout the Midwest. And the demographics for each of those brands is very different. Our marketers have their own challenges with those customer bases. But bringing new customers in is always the challenge, right? And so that's what we're focused on.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the commonalities of all these brands that you led to prominence and usually sale or success is what you just mentioned. The product relates to that. They're known for something. They're famous for something.
Yes. For
And we have
generations in this case.
for
For
generations.
for 3 generations. There are restaurants in Perkins that I go into and I'll meet the franchisee who started it, and he or she is in their 80s, and
Wow.
their 50-year-old son or daughter is involved today, and their son or daughter who's 20 is getting ready to take the reins. It's just fascinating, how these durable brands have stayed what they are. They're the ones that have lasted through pandemics and downturns in the economy and the crises with wars and the availability of labor and the commodities. There's highs and lows, and they come out of it every time.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And when you think about a brand like Perkins, I've told you before that that was my dad's first job
Right?
just
Yeah.
60 years ago at the Perkins Pancake House down the street in Ohio.
Yeah.
There are these commonalities that make them really enduring. I mean, like you said, they're maybe bigger than what we would build today. But what do you think is most special about Perkins as a
It's
starting point?
it's the comfort. It's the comfort food. I mean, breakfast brings people together more than any other meal. And when you see the demographic of our core customer is going to have gray hair, but when you see them having breakfast with their child or grandchild, I think it's amazing. There's a special thing there that we have to figure out how to tap into.
Yeah, yeah. And I think your team has done a great job as a
For
starting point.
sure, for sure.
I told you before when we teamed up with them on innovation, it was you're known
Yep,
for pies, you're known for pancakes. Let's do the pie pancake. There's so much
yep,
to work with.
yep. And we have some competitive advantages that our direct competition doesn't have, like the bakery. That's something that we own that no one else does, and we execute it at a very high level, and we're known for it.
That's right. And you won't fritter it away. Not to mention or name names,
Yep,
different
yep.
brands that start with a P, but you won't forget the bakery and move
Nope.
right along. What about Huddle House? What are you excited about for that one?
I want to get this brand rejuvenized from a prototypical. I want to work on the new prototype, and I want to start building some new ground up locations. We are definitely entering some new markets. We're going into Indiana. We're going into Chicago. We're going into Louisville, Texas, and I think that's exciting. That there's still a prospect out there that gets excited about this brand.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, with this just years and years of longevity, you're not starting from scratch. You have so many equities that you could build around to make it more modern.
Yeah.
What's been your approach, Paul, to using creativity to solving some of these business problems, especially when you think about staging some glorious comebacks for legacy brands, and how's that changed over time?
When I think about what is creativity for me, like I think back to the early days in my career where I was the get things done manager. I was the go-to person to go figure out or solve a problem. So it was very tactical. as I think about my career, it became more about the people, where this whole servant leadership philosophy or mentality started to take place. And then as I think is in the most recent times of my career, it's how do I take all that and how do I build and how do I create super high performing teams that can actually love each other and work together to create something in a brand that can make that brand grow faster or be better or be stronger. And I think that that's, I'm not sure if that gets at your question, but that's how I think about it.
Yes. And what is the secret to finding those high performing teams? I know you have a lot of your favorites who maybe you'll bring together and create a new dynamic. What do you look for in those people?
I mean, for me, it's energy. I want to in my environments that I work, energy is a 10. It's not an 8. It's not a 7. And that's a big learning curve for some people that don't know me or haven't worked for me. One of the first things I did when I joined here, you know, we've got about 120 people that work in the company above restaurant. And there's been a lot of change here at Ascent, right? A lot of senior leadership change. And so the first thing I do is introduce how I behave because I'm very transparent about that. And I created these mementos for everybody in the company. And it's very simple. It's a quote that I live by. The speed at which we accomplish our tasks will determine our success. And so everybody has that on their desk, whether they were remote or they work here. So when I approach them and I say, let's get this done, let's do this, they know where that's coming from. It's not just I'm some psychopath that wants things done quickly. There's a reason for it because I behave like that in my personal life and in my professional life.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's very decisive, action oriented. What do you mean by that's the way you behave? How do you explain that to them along with the quote? Is there a
well, there was a nice letter that goes with the plaque that further explains that. But for me, we're in the restaurant space and we're in the franchisee restaurant space. We're not here. We're not a medical company that has to take years to figure out the next drug. We're trying to figure out ways to make our franchisees excitable and have them grow in the business. So anything that, in my mind, that is taking time that it shouldn't, when something becomes a science project here, that doesn't work for me. And I wanted everybody to know that.
Yes. That's why the restaurant space is one of my faves because it's the most
dynamic,
creative, most fast-paced.
Absolutely.
Dynamic. That's a great way to explain it. When you think about leading this legacy brand that's been facing declining sales, where do you start? What's the first thing you look at?
I think one thing I'm most proud of, because I took some time to understand both of these brands before I joined, and what doesn't need a tremendous amount of work is the food, and that's the foundation of a restaurant, right? And so what we have to focus on is how can we take that food and how can we get it in more mouths, right? So there's the organic marketing component of feeding more people and driving traffic, but there's also the place where I spend a lot of my time, which is in development. And how are we going to grow these brands and how are we going to introduce them to new markets and new people that want to be operators for us? We have 120 company restaurants across the two brands. So we're not just, we know how to run the restaurants. We're good at it. Now we need to find more franchisees that are good at it.
Good call. And what's the approach to that? Especially if you're expecting, and rightfully so, the teams to operate at the highest level. Are you looking for the same in your franchisees, and how do you find them?
It's very similar. Yeah, we want franchisees, we want prospects to have the experience necessary to step into a full service restaurant. We don't want to teach franchising. We don't want to teach running restaurants. We want to teach you about our brand, but we want you to come to us with the right amount of capital and the right amount of experience so that you can step into this and run quickly.
Love it. And when you take the helm of a restaurant company like this, is there that recalibration process where you assess the situation in the team to say who doesn't have the energy?
Of course.
The right people on, the wrong people off. Let's all
It's
be
the
in
right
high energy.
it's the right people in the right seats, and we'll make those decisions as necessary. Nobody's bad people, but some people are in the wrong seats, and we have already course corrected on that in my short term here.
I'll bet. I love
Yeah.
that. Do you ascribe to any particular management style like EOS with getting people in their seats, or is it more founded in your business training background?
It's absolutely in my business training through my days at Marriott and how I behaved over my decades.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. There is always pressure to modernize, new formats, menu items. Everybody's talking about burgers and boba and dirty soda. That may or may not fit your brand. How do you decide what to evolve versus what to protect?
If there are certain things that fit our brand, but a couple of that you mentioned don't. But I will tell you that we do a lot of consumer research, and smash burgers have been a winner for both of these brands, and they're in Huddle House now, and they're coming into Perkins soon. And that's an example of a menu item that truly will help us target the younger demographic, right? And that's a great one. Another one is the quesadilla at Perkins. It's a fantastic product. Chef Scott, who's leading culinary across both the brands right now, is doing a phenomenal job and bringing some really creative innovation around culinary that I love. And then that's how we're going to do it.
Yeah, that's a good example. Another one that came out of our Starry Eyed Work.
Yes. Yes.
It reminds me of your old compadre Kat Cole when she was at Cinnabon. You can do anything. It's just a matter of how. You got to put it through that.
She's a good friend.
You got to put it through that brand lens, and then and only then will it fit.
Yep.
When you think about multiple franchise systems, what has separated the ones that grow from the ones that maybe are a little bit more stagnant and struggle? Granted, with you at the helm, I should say, behind the engine, they'll probably go faster. But what have you seen, not naming brand names or companies, but the differences in franchise systems, the ones that work?
I think everybody says this, but it is absolutely true. It is the people that they bring into these organizations to lead them. And some are not in the right seat or on the right bus. And I think that is a cause. Doesn't mean that individuals don't have the right passion to start or create or grow a brand. And sometimes founders, the best thing a founder can do is recognize that they're not the person that's going to scale it, but they created something they've proven that the consumer wants. Now let's step away and let's bring in a team that knows how to scale something. And that's what success is.
Good call. Back to the consumer piece for a second. I know you said you do a lot to stay in tune with them. Walk us through a couple of things, but getting in tune with that modern consumer once more, but then also what are the changes going to be that the team's going to make? Are you thinking smaller footprints, more streamlined menu? What sort of changes?
We have, the days of building 5,500 square foot restaurants are over. We have a concept that we've created now called Perkins Griddle and Go. And it is a fast casual type of environment. You walk in, there are no servers. You order off a digital menu board. You sit down, but it is the Perkins core menu that I think that younger demo who knows how to use that service style is going to now experience our product in a format that they're comfortable with. And we will open probably 6 of those. We're in a fiscal year, but we'll open 6 of those this year. And I think it's going to be well received in the markets we are. It's a smaller footprint. It's 2,300 square feet. It's not 5,500 square feet. It's 80% of the core Perkins menu in a service style that is current for today.
That's so cool. And how many seats are in the new size?
60 versus 250 in the other ones.
Yeah. And why do you think that is? The smaller you build and the less the seats there are, the higher the sales go. Why do you think that is?
Because 3PD and online ordering and to go continue to be the fastest growing segment of what's happening in that box. And I think it's going to continue to be the fastest growing what's happening in that box.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. What else is next from an Ascent standpoint as you expand and add? Oh, and I should ask, where are those Griddle and Go's going to be?
They are going to be in New Jersey and Texas primarily, those 2 markets.
All right. So we all know where to find them. Go for your taste. When you think about Ascent, as I was saying, is you expand it and potentially add new brands even. What makes a brand worth expanding or acquiring?
There's no plans right now. I think we have to acquire new brands. There's so much we have to do with our two existing brands. I really don't want the team distracted because a lot of times teams will follow the new shiny object, and then what happens to the two brands we have that are our core? So there's no plans to acquire anything new right now. We're going to focus on getting this new prototype of the Griddle and Go done, and looking for ways to grow Huddle House in new markets.
Stay focused. That's also the challenge. As you look back, Paul, at all the different brands you've had a hand in, do you have a favorite, or is that like picking a favorite daughter? Do you have one that you're most proud of in the ways that it's continued on?
I mean, I would say it was Moe's. It was a brand that I stepped into as my first role as president, and I proved to myself, I proved to the organization that I could build my first true high performing team, and not just do that, but show the results where we got to the point where we were opening 100 restaurants a year. That's a lot of restaurants. You know, that's two a week. Every 3 days we're opening a restaurant for a year, and we did that for 3 years. I think we had 20 quarters of positive same store sales during that time. Yeah. So that's my favorite. I'm not ashamed to say it.
That's amazing. And what do you attribute that success to? What sort of changes? Was it footprint, format? Obviously, the franchisees participated. Was it the menu? Was it just dialing in that positioning for a change of how it's different than all the other typically taco shops?
At that time, it was the burrito, what was happening with Chipotle in the early days. I mean, we were actually at that time competing with Chipotle for store openings, and then Qdoba came around, and then Barbaritos came around, and everybody was in the burrito business because that was the hottest food group, if it's a food group, during those years. And so it wasn't just how fast can we open a restaurant, how fast could we sell franchises, because everybody wanted to get on that train. And the good news for Moe's at the time was that Chipotle wasn't selling franchises; they were and still are company owned. And so we had the golden ticket to sell franchises and turn them in and convert them into openings.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and if you were to replicate some of that, what would you picture for Perkins, for instance?
I think we can. I think when we get this Griddle and Go proven, I think it can play in that world.
Mm-hmm.
Because the family dining, breakfast centric brands are doing well right now. Yes, traffic is down, but they're doing well because that is what people go to when there are difficult times in our economy. And right now, it's not a fun time to be in the restaurant space. Gas prices truly dictate traffic in my style of restaurants.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep. When I was a lowly marketing analyst at KFC, it was my job to equate the gas prices with the predicted traffic, which was a real brain buster, but it sure does. It sure does.
It matters. It matters.
How do you picture facing some of the headwinds, considering things like that, where every little economic element, and it's not a little, it's a big one for that, in that example.
We've got to continue to market to our guests, and it's going to be less and less about TV and streaming, and it's going to be more and more about social. And I know this sounds antiquated, but for the Huddle House franchisee, print is still the most important way to market to that customer. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah. That's wild. You know what else I've been really pleased with is the way that you can use AI to update your Google listings. So Google all the business listings, because that's how, regardless of age, everybody will find you with their phones. Tell us a little bit about the tech stack for the team and how you're thinking of that, just so people can find the best.
It's I always say it was so easy to run restaurants back in the 80s and 90s, right? As long as the cash register worked, it was fantastic. And now we spend more time on the tech stack, and these boxes have become so technologically advanced. And some franchisees don't like all that technology, right? But I mean, by the time you get done with your firewall and how you're going to process credit cards and gift cards and online orders, it's a complicated box. It used to be about running the food out, and now it's how do we get the food out hot and to our standard in lots of different ways. And
That's
so
right.
it's just it's not easy, and people are making people not the restaurant owners or operators are always making the decisions about how the guest feels about their food, because third-party delivery is going to alter that. To go is going to alter that. Catering is going to alter that.
Totally. Are there any other ways that you're bringing all of those different technologies together, and how's the team thinking of AI for efficiencies, if nothing else?
We are not thinking about AI for efficiencies per se, but all of the companies we do business with, whether that be DoorDash or Thanks or Merchant Centric or Olo, they all have an AI component to them now that is helping solve some of the friction we have within the tech stack.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I know the team's focused on, we were using AI to mock up, concepts and
yeah.
compare and contrast pricing across competitive menus. I love when you can do stuff like that, because
It is amazing, and everybody is using it in some way, shape, or form in the business today.
Yeah. Also for design, John's probably mocked up your restaurants already without even.
John should be careful. I don't use AI and not him.
Not ready yet. It's not ready yet. Well, Paul, we talked a lot about the building brands that last and some of the ones you're most proud of, but relationships, as you pointed out, are even more important. Not only these high performing teams, how do you keep in touch with all the different peeps who go to other brands and continue on, like you said, rising through as you did?
I think I'm the best at staying in touch with people. I ping somebody every day from my past, whether that's to say hello, ask a question. I mentioned Paul. He texted me today and he said, "I have a great marketer if you need one." And we have a dialogue. There are hundreds of people that I stay in touch with. I stay in touch with one of my college roommates, right, from 1982. So I think relationships are critically important. I was taught early on, don't burn a bridge. I don't think I've ever burned a bridge. I can talk to anybody in my past.
That's pretty impressive. That's awesome. And where do you think that comes from? What about you, maybe your upbringing or your experiences led to that?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I was one of 6 kids growing up, and we were close. We talked to each other every day.
Yeah. What order are you? Or where are you in the order?
I'm 3.
Number 3.
I'm a middle child. I'm a middle child of 6.
I am the number 1 of 6. But I think there's something to that. I think you're right. Like when you grow up with 5 siblings and they're all your best friends and you talk to them every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you teach that? Because I think that is one of your secrets to success, having known a lot of people who you are one of their favorites, is just keeping in touch.
I don't know. I don't know where it came from. I mean, I believe it's part of my servant leadership mentality. And I think sometimes, when I go into a boardroom for a board meeting, I'm the one bringing the Danish in. I'm the one clearing the table. I'm the one pushing the chairs in when the meeting's over. And I was taught that early on.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think that's important.
I do too. Pretty amazing. Well, and like we said, relationships even more important. You and your beautiful wife will celebrate 43 years together this year.
But not married. We're married 37. We're together 43.
Well, that still counts.
Yes,
What's your secret to building that long-lasting partnership?
I think doing things you both like often. I think that giving each other space is important. And I often think that we're so connected because we have stayed completely connected to our 3 adult children, right? It's not like they had gone out on their own and they left and, left the nest. We talk to all 3 of them every single day, and they're married and they have grandkids of ours, or they're getting married, or they moved to Charlotte, but we see them regularly. It's just that relationship is important.
That's very special.
Yeah.
Gives me something to look forward to when I get sad about my kids getting big. Well, you didn't go for 6.
Ugh, no, I wanted to stop at 2.
Uh, did the rest of your siblings have as many kids?
No, no, two, no, nobody. That's a lot.
I'm going to switch into a Starry-Eyed Sparks little lightning round. What
Wow.
is the best or most inspiring book you've read? And that could be of all time or anything lately.
I don't know if they're inspiring, but I love, all the James. I read to get away, and I read a novel every week. And I do that when I'm working out on my Peloton. That's how I zone out. So I love John Grisham, and I love all of those novels. Um, I think if there's one book that I would say is inspiring, one of my CEOs from Focus Brands, every Monday, he would send out a very inspiring email to all of us, 400 people in the company, and we'd all look forward to Russ's Monday morning emails. And one of the things that he did when he retired, he was with us 4 or 5 years. He put together a book. He didn't publish it, but he put together a professional book with all of those emails, right? So there's 52 for each year, and he gave everybody one. And I still have it. I still have it today, and I occasionally look at it and just see what I can flip through. So that's an inspiring book for me.
That is so cool. Which
Yeah,
CEO is this and which company?
that was at Focus Brands with Russ Umfenauer.
Huh, that's a great
Yeah,
idea. And then
yeah.
just put a whole collection together.
It was every email he sent out for every Monday for 4 years.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Good thing to keep on hand as well. What is a brand you admire that's not one of your own?
One of my favorite concepts is Steak 48. I
Ooh.
don't know if you've been there, but
Mm.
it was the guys that founded Mastro's, sold that, and opened up. When I was living in Chicago, they opened up Steak 48. It's a high-end steakhouse, but the way that they are able to execute that in every city that they open up, it blows my mind every time I go there. And I've been to four of them: Scottsdale, Chicago, Beverly Hills, and I was in Philadelphia last week, and I found out they were there. And I will always make an effort to go into that restaurant, whatever city I'm in, because I
Huh,
just think it's amazing what they do.
I have not been there. I'll go there when I'm in Chicago next month.
You should.
That
Yep, you
sounds
should.
delish. Well, Paul, what's one word that describes how you want to lead this year?
I don't have one word. I have two. It's servant leader.
Obviously. How about a new thing you'd like to try?
My wife and I are gonna try a backroads trip this year. We're gonna take a bike, hike, and kayaking trip to Nice, France,
Ooh, that
and
sounds
do
so dreamy.
Provence, and just do it. It's an activity thing, so we're gonna see what that's like, and I'm looking forward to trying that.
That sounds amazing. When's that?
May, it's coming around the corner.
Good thing you're on your Peloton. What about
Uh,
your go-to walk-on or pump-up song? You've got a big thing coming up. What do you play? Perhaps a white.
September, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh,
Yep, one of my favorite songs.
classic. How about your favorite cocktail or mocktail?
Negroni.
Ooh, I didn't see that, Kevin.
Yep,
What
one
is
of
it?
my favorite.
What did you have any favorite type? I know they're making Negronis with tequila these days.
Tequila. Yeah, that's not for me. I
No,
like Monkey 47 gin. I like an Italian sweet vermouth, and I like Campari.
brilliant.
Yep, yep.
And how do you stay creative day to day when you have all these things going on? Like you said, is there a time where you have these big ideas of this is what we got to do? This is the type of team that we need to create.
I'm done creating the team. I think the team here is fantastic. It is fully built out. I think now for the team, because there were some existing folks and I brought in some new folks, but truly some of those existing folks have worked for me in the past, right? I think it's now time for all of them to gel, and I will
Mhm.
help facilitate that for sure.
That's wonderful. Well, Paul, after all that we've discussed, so much more to talk about. What's one thing you'd encourage brand leaders to do or try?
It's hard, but I do it every day. if you're not doing this now, just try it. Walk around the office every morning and say good morning to everybody. It's really hard to do. And it's really hard to do 5 days in a row, depending on how many people come to your office every day. But it's fun. And I've always done it. And I think it's one ingredient in the culture cocktail, right? It's just one more thing that says to those employees, he took the time to walk around and he actually spoke to me. So yeah, that's going to be cool. I think I can work here. I think I like it here.
That's a big deal. What about if you have a hybrid team where people are all over the world? How would you check in with them? Do you send your own Monday morning email? Do you check in?
I don't. I didn't want to copy Russ on that. But we check in through Teams. But the majority of our teams are here and based here, and we are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I get a chance to do that those 3 days a week.
Yeah, that is very special and something that might be missing in a lot of places. Well, Paul, who's a creative leader you think we should invite next to Stay Starry-Eyed?
I've mentioned him twice today. Paul Macaluso, if he hasn't been on it already. And has he?
Everybody called him PMAC.
PMAC.
So yes, PMAC.
He's the CEO and he's killing it over at Torchy's Tacos. And I would say Tori Bartlett, the CEO of Pop Up Bagels. Tori is one of the guys that took my old role as president of Moe's for a time at Focus Brands, and what he's doing at Pop Up Bagels right now is pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Paul, thanks again for just sharing your story with us. Very inspiring, awesome ideas. I'm super excited for what you're going to do at Ascent, and I'm taking my littles to Perkins for breakfast tomorrow.
Thank you for having me. These are always fun, and I look forward to connecting with you again.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Stay Starry-Eyed podcast. I hope today's conversation sparked new ideas, strategies, and tools you can use to move your brand and business forward. If you enjoyed this episode, here's how you can help share it with your fellow brand leaders who need it most. Hit follow, share it with a friend, and please leave us 5 stars or a quick review. You know we love all the stars. You can also find show notes, resources, and additional inspiration at starryeyedstrategy.com. Until next time, stay starry-eyed.